Yes, check.
Somebody filled you.
Wait a minute, yeah.
Does look good. I've been in Iowa, South Dakota. Not seeing about that.
Okay, it is 9 o'clock and I'll call the meeting of the County Commissioners to order. Mr. Van Duzen, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 2 is call for public comment. So public comment can be done made in person or via telephone and at the following numbers: 605-882-6248 or 605-882-6297. Are there any conflict of interest items for any of the commissioners?
No.
None for me. And number 4, action to approve our agenda for today.
So moved.
Motion by Van Duzen,
I'll second that.
second by Schwer. Just to note, the in the public comment section, that's for another day where Ms. Brownlee is going to come in and talk to us. But that'll be in a couple weeks.
I would ask for a
Executive session.
exec session.
Okay, so anticipating.
Contract.
Okay, so executive session for contract, and I think we have another one for possible litigation. So, any other things to say? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Please say no. That motion carries. Number 5, action to approve the July 18th minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson, second by Waterman. Any comments, corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Please say no. That motion carries. Number 6, opening of the asphalt mat construction bids and possible action to award a bid.
Good morning.
Good
Morning,
morning.
Rick. How many bids do we have?
Looks like one.
Okay.
And it is from Dunning Incorporated.
Dissipation of building.
And it does have, looks like it does have a bond with it. So it's. Okay, does have a bid bond. And the price is $207,200. 207,200. And I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, otherwise we can
Yep.
take it. We have the one on the.
I just
stop
wanna
signs. Okay, yeah.
Do a little
I-
calculation
yeah, no
and
problem.
so
Okay,
I'll be back in a minute, so.
all right. Well, let's,
Thank
while
you.
you're doing that,
One
let's
minute.
take number 7. Luke, you just walked in, opportune time for the plat resolution.
Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
What we have is a plat for the Stimson Edition Northwest Quarter, Section 26 in Sheridan Township. It is straight south of Watertown, the east edge. 41st Street is probably the best way to think of it if you're just driving from town. If you're not, I think we call that the Bureau Road. In that area, 1, 2, 3, 4 miles straight south. If you've been on that stretch, there's a big hill that heads back to the east toward I-29. What they're doing is they're platting off a property they got an existing farmstead exemption for at the last meeting of the Board of Adjustment. In platting it as the board suggested, the main thing that's, I would say, probably relevant beyond just that is that the old farmstead, if you know the area, the old farmstead was kind of, I'm going to say, at the bottom of the hill, tough to see. They've moved that lot up higher on the hill, so it's easier from a standpoint of seeing as they get out. They don't want to have that limited sight line any more than we do. So it actually worked out to the best of both worlds. So Planning Commission recommended approval last week, and that's why it's here.
Move to approve.
Motion by Van Duzen, second by Waterman. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
You'll say no. That motion carries.
You want me to do it now?
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, let me pull up your budget here. Hang on a second.
Oh, did you throw that in? Did you throw that sheet in? Thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Is it in? We do.
It's the updated. You should all have it in your.
Packet.
Let me find the budget again. Okay, let's see your
Board,
just planning board.
board the back.
Cheers.
So it's fun. That should be 7. And you guys have an explanation sheet on the second page. It's in your.
Is it in our binder?
Yeah, it's in your
Oh, okay. I
binder.
thought it was.
Yeah, no, it's in your binder.
Packet. Oh, that makes sense.
Sorry to catch you cold.
Is that under the planning board?
Okay, so we're jumping down for a bit of agenda number 9.
Planning
People are
board.
trying to follow along.
Gotcha.
Okay.
There it is.
All right.
Okay, now we're psyched and ready.
We got you. All prepared. So I've prepared the budget for next year. Rather than get into a long drawn out description, I'm going to take you to the end of the road right away. I'm recommending a 0.29% increase in last year's budget. And that is primarily due to just the percentage changes that we have generally across the board, across the county. A couple of those don't really apply that much because, for example, the wage and salaries that we generally use outside of contract services go toward planning board members and those don't always have the same contributions. They, as the others, if you look at the 2022 expenditures, they were, especially on wage and salary at the top, they were significantly lower than the year before. In looking at that, that's clearly from a standpoint of not having quite as many meetings as we had in the previous year. And that's honestly, 2021 was when we had those special meetings to adopt the marijuana ordinances and that sort of thing. So that was where some of that came from. And then,
Wind towers.
there's a little bit with that 2021, but it was mostly the special meetings we had to have in those. So anyway, the bottom line is that really not recommending anything in the way of changes. The main things that we look at, that I always try to point out are, from a standpoint of course, we, are not, this isn't a time that we sign any contracts for any sort of services, but of course we have in there budgeted the same amount that we're planning on, out of our office. My primary office of First District, planning what we would expect for, having a contract for the following year, if it were something we were going to be doing, as we have been for the last 20 years. The main thing that I noted there, keeping that steady. However, as we look at it, we're probably due again for an increase, not in 2024, but 2025. And at that point, it would probably make more sense. We've been talking about it for close to a decade now to figure more of an agreeable, annual escalator instead of asking for a big chunk increase each time. So that's a discussion for another day, but that's that part. And then the other part is the planning district dues usually gets thrown into this budget. I try to take that, take those two separate, but of course those are agreed upon with a different resolution as well.
We did that last week.
Yeah, so
So
I just throw that in there as well.
So that's the number on 429, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. On 429, we throw that into there. I do know that at the end, once the year's over, some of the publishing fees wind up, or mailings get accounted for in 429 as well. So they get rolled into there too. So my budget, I keep them separate in my supplies, but those get rolled together a little bit sometimes.
Okay.
So
Right.
just, that's why they don't always match our due schedule. So anyway, that's all I've got.
Any questions for Luke?
Thank you, Luke.
That's pretty straightforward. So.
Salute. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Right. Rick, would you like to come back here? Okay. So we jump back up to number 6 on the agenda.
My recommendation is to take Dunick's bid of $207,200 to, and this was a budgeted item to fix County Road 23.
So move.
So
I'll
motion-
second it.
So we have a motion by Johnson and a second by Schwer. Any other questions or discussions on this one? So, and you said it does fit with your
Yes,
budget?
yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Please say no. Okay, that motion carries. We want to, since you're here, do you want to jump down to number
Yes.
10, which is the stop sign question?
We are going to change that intersection to a stop sign. There was already a yield ahead coming from the north on that. And there'll be a stop ahead on the north side of the intersection and on the south side of the intersection. We'll flag it. I've already called in the locate, so when we have time, we'll get that changed. So that way it's done. Because next year there'll be a cornfield on the other side of the road,
Yeah.
so. Yep.
I guess I would like to thank you for doing that. I think, we had that discussion last week that we had a pretty bad crash at that intersection. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. So I think
Yep.
putting up stop signs there.
I'll put a picture of the, that's the intersection.
Yeah, so that's the intersection. I went out and took these photos earlier, late last week, I guess, and that is looking to the west
Yeah.
from that intersection. And so you can see the cornfield on the north side of the road there. And so that does obscure the view for traffic traveling west, but it also obscures the view for traffic coming from the from the east for traffic going south.
And see where the yield sign is, that is north and south there. When you're coming from the north, that cornfield is on the,
Right there.
you know, that's bean field on that side, but
Oh,
on this
there's the yield-
side,
Okay, there's a yield
back
sign
over here, there's a yield sign.
So if you go to the
Cornfield is on the northwest,
next picture,
northeast
maybe.
corner of the intersection.
Should be
So
another.
next year, there'll be corn on the other side of the intersection and probably on the other side of the highway also, so.
I don't have.
It's just one of those things that it's a bad intersection, so
Yeah,
we'll get it corrected.
Well, see, I do a picture of the vehicle. You want to?
yeah,
You want me
that's fine.
to show the picture of the
Yeah,
vehicle?
that's fine.
Okay.
So, and this is what we're trying to prevent from happening
Mhm.
again is,
Okay,
is
here it is. Hang on a second. That one.
is the crash. And
Yeah.
so when you're dealing at highway speeds of
So that
55
happened at
miles
that
per hour.
intersection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so. Anyway, thank you very much. So we'll look for stop signs to go up there and,
Yep,
and,
and we'll flag,
appreciate it.
we'll flag the stop ahead and the stop signs, so people see that there's a.
Perfect.
So we don't have a motion in a second yet, I don't think. So,
We need to make a,
yeah, we need.
okay, so I will make a motion then that we put up a stop sign for north and southbound traffic
Correct.
at the intersection of 449th and 177th.
Okay, so motion by Van Duzen is, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Johnson. So any other, thanks for explaining that to us, gentlemen. So
Thank
any,
you.
any other
Thank you, Rick.
questions, discussion on this one?
Nope.
All right, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Let's see, no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Motion carries.
I will have a contract to sign for these guys next week. I'll get that to them so they can sign it.
Okay, do we need to
They'll
put that
probably
on?
do it in your office, so. I'll
Is
get
that
it-
separate?
I'll get it to You know, right up.
We need to do a separate motion just for the contractor. Is that already taken care of with her? I guess it just, yeah, everybody.
Accepting.
Yeah.
Rick, just for the media, what's it, you said you got a locate done on that. What's the timeline for stop signs up there? A week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, roughly. Like I
Week.
said, we're swamped right now, but I'll try and get them up as soon as I can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. That brings us down to monthly reports. And Shauna, you're first.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Shauna.
Okay. Monthly reports. We generally do basically the same thing for most of the summer. The office staff is working on entering sales and getting sales sent off to the Department of Revenue. I have noticed the last couple months, the sales are really, residential housing is starting to pick up. We're getting some more house sales. I think a lot of people were, hoping that 7% interest would come down, but I think it's here to stay for a little while, but summertime, more houses on the market, sales are really starting to pick up again. The appraisers are still out in the county. We have one set that has finished up most of Waverly, and so they are actually going to be moving on to Eden. And then we have the south part of Cransburg done, and they're starting to work on the north part. So that's where we're at right now.
Okay. Questions for Shauna? Do you want to do your budget?
I sure can. Do you guys like going line by line, or how is it?
Just, I think
Just kinda
most of us
gist?
want to, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, give us the
Increase.
highlights, if stuff stays the same. You
Okay.
probably don't need to talk about it.
So basically overall, it looks like about a 10% increase from last year. But it looks like 5% of that increase was kind of because of the union contract negotiations last year and stuff that hadn't been budgeted. It looks like we're putting in about a 6% employee increase for wages. Our health insurance, I put in a 10% health insurance increase, but it actually went down from last year a little bit because we had estimated a lot bigger adjustment than, which is very nice. Most of the other stuff, there's not really any big increases in here. Just like repairs and maintenance went up a little bit, just that's all of my contracts and stuff. Supplies and materials, I haven't been using as much. Mail is going up, fees for that. And I do just want to point out my GIS contract, that is First District that does, all of our website stuff, and they do, all of our splits and things on GIS. They have not raised their prices since we had started this almost 10 years ago. They are very great to work with, and they're still,
That's line 42920,
that is line 42910.
429.
42910.
the GIS contract,
Yep,
and then
the
the-
GIS contract.
Turn the pictometry.
Yeah.
into separate.
Yep, that has been $6,000, and they have done our website,
Oh, yeah.
our P website for free for quite a while.
Right.
Quite a long time, but they're one of the ones that don't really raise their prices very much, which is nice. The 42,000 for pictometry, that is our 3-year
Okay.
payment that we make to the city once a year. We just got a flyover this year. We can see the new pictures online, and I know I got an email from Darren at First District that they're gonna be putting it on our website soon, so they just received it. A lot nicer. The cameras are getting better, so they're getting us better pictures for the same amount of money, which is really nice. Yep. And then I still have money for a new vehicle in there. I thought I was gonna get one this year, but all of them, knock on wood, are running great. They have low miles, so I don't really want to do anything this year, but I want to keep it in there in case something happens and I need to get one next year.
Okay. Any questions on the budget for Shauna? It's a pretty good. Okay, yeah, I think that's a good rundown.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
all right, have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Emergency. Management Director.
Morning, Andrew.
Morning. Well, since last time we had an LEPC meeting, nothing, I mean, I guess the most significant thing that came out of there was just trying to identify projects for LEPC to help sponsor. I reached out to the volunteer fire chiefs to see if they had anything that we could help them with. But I mean, I haven't heard anything back yet. Completed this year's vehicle rotation for the search and rescue vehicles, just making sure that, you know, they have their services done, so forth, making sure that things stay running well there. We hosted the Region 2 Emergency Management meeting here last week or a couple weeks ago. It's probably the best one yet. We had several guests, DOH, National Weather Service, Sanford, Fire Marshal. Lots of good information, some just really interesting information. For example, Kelly with Weather Service said that they've actually issued the fewest number of thunderstorm warnings since sometime in the 1980s, and that was as of July 12th. So a good change from last year. They also rolled out a new hotspot notifications service, I suppose, so they can see heat signatures with their equipment. So if there's significant heat being put off by a fire, they'll actually just send out text and email notifications as if you sign up. Well, it has to be fire chief or emergency management. I did sign up for it. There are some limitations, like, I mean, if there was dense fog or, you know, or significant cloud cover, smoke from other fires, you're not going to be able to see those heat signatures quite as well. Also in the winter, I mean, the fire can be smaller because of the difference between, you know, the temperature differences. But it is another tool, certainly not going to replace, you know, people calling in fires if they see them, but it's something else that may help. Noel with Sanford discussed Stop the Bleed. It was something that emergency managers worked with schools a few years ago. Some of the equipment, you know, had expiration dates on it, and just answering questions and streamlining or kind of bringing us up to speed and reintroducing us to
to that program. She also dropped off several kits for me to deliver, so I delivered about 20 kits to our schools. And then fire marshals discussed PPE grants from House Bill 1127. And I mean, there was a lot of good information that he put out there that I relayed to volunteer fire chiefs. We had applicant briefings for spring flood. That federal disaster was declared on July 6th. So had a applicant briefing on July 18th. And I submitted incident objectives and the AARIP, the after action report and improvement plan, to the state per LEMPG, or to meet the compliance from our LEMPG contract. I mean, Sherry and I also participated in planning PE and hosted the state IMAT exercise. So those likely would have met the requirement as well, but we just had to submit the documentation to the state to make sure
that's the AAR for the flood, for the spring flood.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So we used the real world event in lieu of a planned exercise,
Okay.
essentially.
And who's involved in writing those? Is that, I would assume, you'd probably be the point man and then get a lot of input from the city in this case.
So yeah, and in this case, the planning section chief, which was Scott Youngblood, did the incident objectives and filled out the actual incident action plan,
Okay.
the IAP for the spring flooding incidents for each incident period. So I submitted those to the state, and then the AARIP, I mean, we essentially did a hot wash AAR type thing after that incident. I took the notes from there and
Right.
put it into the other document.
Okay.
to send
I think you
off.
need at least one more acronym.
I probably should throw out a couple.
So if you had to say, what were the IP, what was what were the big takeaways from it?
Really, I think we should probably take people from everybody who's going to respond to that and get like a little bit more of a comprehensive
Sure.
plan established. And I guess documented.
For me, it was my first time sitting through that since I was in the chair seat this year. But yeah, to me, it seemed like it was, a very thoughtful bunch of guys that really, were ahead of the game. So on the whole thing. So
let's see. Search and rescue assisted with the triathlon and Camp Chance over this past month. We have one more Camp Chance that we'll help with on Wednesday, but that went well. Upcoming, I'm going to check the request for public assistance statuses to make sure that everybody has that done by the deadline, which is August 5th. All of the participants that submitted preliminary damage assessments, make sure that they're all good. Local businesses wanted to bring in responders for an emergency response meeting. I reached out to the fire department because they would be heavily involved with some of the responses that they were requesting that we meet with them about. Search and rescue will participate in National Night Out, and August 17th is the search and rescue raffle. It starts at 5:30 at Studio 212. We're going to be consolidating the remaining raffle tickets at Emergency Management Office and at Dwayne's floor covering. So if you still need to get a raffle ticket, you can reach out to us or your favorite search and rescue member. But it should be a good event again this year.
so your budget is the next thing on your.
Oh,
Just
I have a
one
question.
second.
That's what I was going to ask. Go ahead.
Just touch on, we got a new floodplain. The letter just came by my desk and you said Brenda said that you have it. Is there a new updated floodplain map available now? There's the letter. We got one last spring, or I don't know, it was a while back. And then they realized that there was some issues with it and is this the redo now?
I was familiar with some of the stuff. Actually Luke would probably be the best person to talk to about that.
Who?
Luke Mueller.
Yeah, Luke would be in, be
But-
out there.
Yeah,
We were at that same meeting together, remember, out at the Redland. Out at the zoo,
okay, yeah, that one.
and then that map was all screwed up. I shouldn't say all screwed up, but it wasn't current.
Sure, yeah,
And now this is the latest one and I would suggest that people get in contact with Luke or whomever, just to reassure that their property is not in the floodplain. You know, that's the key thing there.
We should probably have a copy of that map in our office too, with eventually, we should probably get that, so if people call. Is it FEMA that does that,
Yes.
updates that?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm sure you
we
can
could do that.
contact City Hall to get a hold of
Yeah.
Brandy. She could get you one.
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
assuming Luke would have one as well.
yeah. Just one more thing too, Mr. Chair. You mentioned National Night Out. I just want to throw a plug out. That's on August 1st, which is a Tuesday. Right? Is that August 1st? Yeah,
yes.
that's going to be at the new park downtown here this year. So.
All right, thanks. Okay, anything else before he goes into his budget? All right, Andrew. We're all ears about your budget.
Okay, well, from 411 to 417,
We're on activity 222, correct?
that is
Yeah.
correct.
All right.
All right, so I mean, from 411 to 417. Most of those are just numbers that are crunched that are provided. I guess the 415.31 would probably be the one where we haven't necessarily budgeted for anything in the past, but 420 for the rec program reimbursement. Moving on to, I guess 426 would be the next one where there was a significant change. Just budgeted for 1/3 of a server and a updated computer for next year.
That's
426, yeah.
Okay, and then
Other than
Just
that, there's
Just to back up that 415.31, the emergency management recreational program. So just for clarification, that's $420. And that's just reimbursement. If you go to the rec center so often, you get reimbursed back your membership. So that's what that is. So just so people know.
sure. An incentive to be healthy.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a big deal, but just for clarification. Okay,
but yeah, other than that, I mean, those were the main changes of this year.
Any questions for Andrew on his budget?
What, did you figure out your total increase? I could do that too, but
Grand total looks like it went from 272,796 to
Yep.
275,000.
$3,000. I mean, it's.
What am I looking at this? What
a
one?
pretty
I
small increase.
have a quick, I have a decrease actually in this one. We're looking at the right one.
You're looking
Two
at the current-
seventy-two up to 275 here.
278 down to 275.
So, you know, and as always, we always ask our department heads in the county to do what they can to try and keep the costs of an ever growing budget down to a minimum. And I'm seeing that time after time again, as we go through our budgets here with the various department heads. One thing we can't control are the salaries, the health insurance, you know, the retirement and all that. So
Yeah.
most of the increases that we're seeing are coming from there. So appreciate our department heads keeping that in check. So.
All right.
Any questions?
Are there,
Other than-
is there a separate budget for search and rescue? Do we have a separate one or do you?
There was no change to it.
Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Sure, I got the right one.
And then there's Brad. I haven't looked at yours yet. Hopefully I didn't speak too soon. Oh, no. There you go.
I listened to him on radio, was that yesterday?
Yep.
All I could hear is ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
It's not cheap to run a sheriff's office from the jail.
It's not. All right. You guys want to grab one? We'll pass it down. We'll hit my monthly report here first. Dive into the budget stuff after that. All right, on the front page there, you should see your commissary monthly balance sheet for the month of June of 2023. If you look at end of June, the bank balance was $21,925.66. At the time of the snapshot here, it was $2,515.25 in the lobby ATM booking kiosk for a grand total of $24,440.91. The resident balances were $2,300.17 at that time. It was $3,881.01 for commissary items and tax that was not dispersed. Funds balance was $18,259.73 for the grand total of $24,440.91, which leaves our original balance at $15,000, and you can see that we earned $1,312 commission that goes to the county general fund. So we roll to the next page, the sheriff's office checking account here. You can see bank balance end of June 2023. Bank balance was $14,584.60. You'll see down there was copy fees collected of $16, sheriff's fees collected of $7,268.75. Miscellaneous accounts collected $6,250, warrant fees collected at $250 for a grand total of $13,784.75. And it looks like there was a distress warrant sale that was dispersed to the treasurer for $89.65, which brings our monthly total back to our $89.50, which we started at. What I'm sure you'll pull up on the big screen here, our monthly report here. There we go. Now we can see a little bit. So for the month of June, the sheriff's office responded to 551 cases and calls for service. There was 8 accident reports that were completed. They responded to many more accidents than that, but this is just the accident reports that were actually completed for state reports. Warrants, there were 75 warrants served, 244 civil papers served, 2,997 transport miles. That was a total of 9 transports and 13 people transported. So we do try to keep as many people when we are headed south or north or whatever, try to keep them all bundled up as much as we can. So we have less transports, try to get as many people as we can when we're going. So if you scroll on down to the middle of the page there, you can see some jail activity in the month of June. Our average daily population was 54.03. Our high ADP was 64 on the 29th of June. Our low average daily population was 48. That was on the 1st. On the 24/7 program, on the Scram bracelet, we had 21 participants on the Scram bracelet, 12 on remote breath, 28 on the twice daily PBTs, and 49 people on the twice weekly UAs, and 0 people on the sweat patch, for a grand total of 110 people on the 24/7 program. And you can see we're at average daily population of about 54.03. So that program is still working, keeping people out of jail and keep holding them accountable. So if you scroll on down to the bottom here, you'll see out of county contracts collected in June were $17,580. Work release fees collected $2,970. 24/7 fees collected $6,330, and Scram fees collected was $4,166. Any questions on that before? And a couple other things I wanted to touch base on quick, but
Questions?
okay. All right, wanted to kind of just share tomorrow and Thursday, sheriff's office, we're going to be doing a bike rodeo out in our smaller communities out in the county. The Florence Community Center tomorrow from 9 to 11, and Henry School from 1 to 3. And then on Thursday, we're going to be in South Shore at the community center from 9 to 11, and then Kransburg from 1 to 3 at the Holy Rosary Church. Bike rodeo, we're just going to be trying to touch base with the youth, the kids, make sure that their helmets are fitting right, make sure that their bikes are roadworthy, and
We're gonna talk about safety a little bit, where they should be riding bikes and try to make sure that they're paying attention and have questions. We're gonna have a couple little courses set up to kind of test their skills a little bit. And so it should be a fun time. So that'll be tomorrow and Thursday. Another thing that I recently did is I just recently signed an MOU with pretty much the Northeast law enforcement agencies here in the Northeast South Dakota. Kind of been in discussion here for quite a while about maybe getting a multi-jurisdictional criminal element team together to work on drug enforcement. What that's going to entitle is, like, say, each agency always has 1 or 2 or 3 really good people that are really good in working the drugs and working some of them issues. So once a month, or we're going to work on the details a little bit more here next Monday, but hopefully we're going to be able to pull one of our guys once in a while and kind of work with some other agencies, and then vice versa. So might have a day set up in Codington County where we have other agencies coming in, and we're going to work the drug enforcement side of it. Get a vehicle stopped. If you make an arrest, we can work with our investigators and kind of follow that all the way through to the end, and hopefully maybe get some search warrants done out of that and try to go after the bigger fish, go up the chain. So one of the better things out of this is going to help with communication amongst all the agencies around, be able to share some of this information back and forth, because that's one of the benefits I just kind of see coming out of this. So still more to come as we kind of get going here. Our goal is to hopefully minimum of 2 events with other agencies throughout the year. So it's not a whole lot of time. We still got to worry about Codington County and make sure that our hours are staffed here as well. So
Would that be is it like a sharing of best practices kind of thing? That's what it sounds like, but would it also be kind of like the search and rescue, where sometimes another part, say another county might say, oh, you have a really good guy that does this.
Yep.
Can we get him up here to help?
Yeah, absolutely. The goal is to hopefully have some dates set. And if there's a problem area, we can maybe come in and have a team of people, including the highway patrol and some other agencies, come in and do an actual
Operation.
Yeah, an operation. That's what I'm looking for. An operation in the county or in a certain area with involving some of the other agencies. So
Brad, from an operational standpoint, I guess I'm sure you've already thought about this and addressed that, but the span of control with officers coming into Codington County to work law enforcement services.
Something that we're going to be discussing at our meeting here on the 31st coming up.
Okay.
Right now, everybody's going to be following their own policies and procedures, because every agency has different policies and procedures. So there's going to be a lot of discussion and a lot of learning on how this goes and how we go forward. But like I say, the best thing I can see out of this is better communication amongst all the agencies and sharing. Our drug dealers and our people using drugs they're not staying in Codington County. They're going to all these small counties and small towns and back and forth and traveling. So I think it'll be a good thing. So
How has the legalization of medical marijuana, have you seen any effects of that yet?
not a whole lot. There are a lot of people that we do encounter that have their medical cards. So we are seeing that. Haven't seen a whole lot of issues or change as of right now, I guess, because the people that are doing it legally are going through their doctors and doing their part.
Doing it right.
Doing it right. There has been some traffic issues. I know there's been a couple DUIs where people have been under the influence of their medicine or drugs. And so we're seeing a little bit of that, but.
That's good.
Just a couple more things here at the detention center. The garage doors, we've got them installed now. They're up and running and working. We did a light upgrade in the Sally Port. The lights were old and they had the plastic on there where they were brittle and easily to be broken. You can use them as a weapon. So we did upgrade those to LED lights, a little brighter, a little more efficient. That's something that we're hoping to do across the building next year anyways, when we talk about budget stuff. So that was something that we were able to get done here. Vehicles that we ordered last year, we're still waiting on them. I talked to Dodge directly and it sounds like they're supposed to be, one of them is supposed to be built beginning of August and another two are supposed to be built the end of August. And then it's the waiting game of where they end up on the train cars and how long before we get them here. Our goal is hopefully, of course, get them here before the end of the year and get our trades in and get everything swapped out and done. And for budget wise for the installs, hopefully we can get that done. So that's kind of why I'm mentioning that. So. One other thing, yesterday we did have to order a stun cuff. The price was $3,150. The reason I'm sharing that with you, and it was something that we were gonna buy next year, trying to hold off. Ours, it quit working, doesn't work, and we have a large murder trial coming up here. It's gonna take about 3 weeks coming up here in September. So we had to have that for our inmate. The stun cuff is it's a tool that you can put on an inmate when they go to court. Oftentimes when they go to court, they're in plain clothes. It's something that the judge rules that inmate, no handcuffs, no jail, nothing to show that they're in custody or anything like that. And oftentimes have the deputy that's near them in plain clothes too, just so you don't have that persona that they're in custody and they're in jail and that they're a bad guy. So what they're doing is we've got one, we've had one for a while, but it finally to the point where the circuit board quit. It's a piece of equipment that you can put on their arm or their ankle, and the shoots out a electric shock. If someone gets unruly, we can have the remote, the deputy that's there can have a remote control that'll be able to control that person. So
It's like an e-collar, only worse.
it's very similar to an e-collar, yes. So like I say, we've had one for a long time, but finally we were hoping to make it last until next year, but it didn't. So that was something that was not budgeted that we're hoping we can make it work in our budget this year that we did end up buying. So due to the time restraints, we ordered it. Just figuring, let you guys know. So. Any other
Shocking news.
shocking news?
Thank you for that, Commissioner Johnson.
Just one thing, not to harp on the MOU that was signed for the multi-jurisdictional marijuana or drug operation thing. One thing that we have to look at, I think, is folks coming into Codington County, if they are injured, does their own department cover them as far as their insurance? You know, that sort of thing, work comp.
Yeah.
And, okay.
Everything goes back on them except for court. If it's a court thing.
In Codington County.
The county will have to pay for their fees to come to court.
Okay.
And their.
Or testify for a grand jury and all that.
So their
stuff.
own
Yeah,
agency would cover their insurance.
Yeah,
and- Okay.
their policy, their insurance, their stuff. So
Okay.
it's, the state of South Dakota has an MOU. There's actually a law in place that we can go across borders right now and
Mhm.
work. So if Dual County needs help, we can go help back and forth. It kind of eliminated that red tape about 5-6 years ago because there was a lot of issues about the insurance back then.
Yeah.
So they actually passed the law. It's probably a little bit longer ago than 5-6 years ago, but it kind of eliminates that. So agencies are able to work more closely and not have to worry about, well, if I go over there, is something bad going to happen? Who's paying for it? So
Because a lot of the times that might be a last minute phone call that we need help and we
Yeah.
need-
and it's just
So,
let's
yeah.
go and get it. So,
Sure. Okay. Thanks, Brett.
So you want to talk, I pulled your budget desk, so.
Sure.
For the sheriff's.
All right, we'll start with the sheriff's office budget here. Let's kind of jump through the line items that have making any changes here. So line item 411 there, the wages, we budgeted a 6% COLA. We included our step increases for the years. Overtime, part-timers, transports, shift pay, call pay, holiday pay, snow days. And I included a new full-time employee for the school resource officer in that budget. So you'll see that when you look at the numbers there up on top there. So line item 415, health insurance, I budgeted a 10% increase. Line 425, repairs and maintenance, I increased of about $5,000. Some that's for Zerker fees are going up 5%. Connecting point went up just a little bit. Leads online, it's a program that we use for ponds. Vehicle repairs are in this one too. Those are going up a lot. The national average went up 13%. So that's something that we're seeing here locally too, is the price of vehicle repairs has gone up a little bit. So that went up 5,000. 426.20 uniforms. I added $1,500. One of that is for the new deputy and also the vest replacements for the reserves and reserve equipment for the reserve deputies. Line item 427, travel and conference. I added $5,000 to that one. I've never changed this one in my time as being sheriff. So this is the first time that this one's actually gone up. in this one, there's transports. Deputies and transports when we're going out of state and transporting people, so that's part of that one here. One thing I'd like to do is I'd like to bring in more training to the department. I want to bring in some bigger and more training to the department, kind of like a department-wide training, so that's kind of why there's a little bit of price there, so. And then like I say, also the SRO, we'll have to go to a training somewhere in the summertime to learn how to become an SRO and be able to fulfill that job, so. Line 428, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a question about the travel and conference. So that travel line also covers transporting inmates back to. I'm wondering if we should separate those two lines from your training and travel budget to just a travel inmate, like going and getting inmates and bringing it back so that we can
Yeah.
differentiate between those two.
Yeah, that's kind of the same in the jail one. It's kind of been that way forever. The wages still come out of the wages, but this would be like the meals and everything that they would go and like if we have to buy an inmate meal, that would still come out of there too. We would take that out of the jail one for the inmate one, but if the staff is a tired deputy or something that's going, that would come out of this budget.
Yeah, it'd just be nice to be able to separate the training and travel for staff, like to attend a conference or
Yeah.
something
You know,
instead of. Okay. Okay, all right.
yeah, it's not a bad idea.
That's.
I mean, that way you can differentiate between the
Yeah.
cost of actually going and
Yeah.
getting somebody.
Should be.
versus-
Should be.
Like I say, I take gas out of the gas budget when we go anyways, like.
Yeah.
So some of that kind of comes and goes, so
Okay,
a lot of that's just travel and trainings, and
okay,
that's a big portion of it, so.
all right.
428 utilities, I added $5,280 for body camera cell service. The new cameras that we got, have it in the cars where everything gets uploaded automatically. I did add $5,280 to put it on our body cameras, so body cameras will just upload as we go, so.
So, and I see, by the way, I see Matt wearing one. Is that, so all the jailers that are on duty at a time, so we have
That
enough
is-
for that?
Yes,
Okay.
yep,
Yeah.
all the jail staff, all the deputies, and
Working
have
good.
extras for the transport guys, so.
Yeah.
Working good. 434, machinery and equipment, we decreased that one $24,900. Looking at getting 2 patrol vehicles and the equipment that goes with it, a couple office computers. And also fulfill our contract duties with our GTAC for our body cameras and car cameras. Couple tasers, there's a server project that we're looking to do. We share a server with the jail, sheriff's office, and EM is on there as well. Wouldn't mind getting a evidence locker, redoing our evidence room a little bit. And new officer supplies and for the SRO, duty belt and whatever else that we may need, weapons and stuff, so. And line 435 is a decrease of $6,000 in the furniture budget.
So on the server project, said that would be, so basically everything over in that building.
Yeah.
Okay, is Connecting Point work? Would that be well?
Yeah, Connecting Point works with us, and that's where we got the full.
Is that a major redo or
Every 5 years, we redo our server, just a computer thing that we try to stay up on, because if that goes down, that affects our operations immensely, so.
That's huge.
Next thing we do share that server with EM office there on our server as well. So we split that between 3, budget $5,000 a piece to per budget. So it's around
Yeah.
$13,000 or $14,000 is what we were quoted. We're gonna take our old server, and that's gonna be a backup server to the other server, and they do their magical computer stuff.
Magical computer stuff.
Magical computer
That's
stuff.
what they recommend.
That is.
Yeah.
So,
All right, any questions on the sheriff's budget before we go on to what we have detention center next?
yep, we'll let the jail budget here next. One thing I want to touch base on is the youth at risk budget. I don't know if I didn't get a copy of it, but we're still keeping that one at 5,000, right, Brenda? Okay,
Yeah, I got
I'd like
that.
to keep that one there. Sometimes we
Yeah,
don't
it's
use it a
just-
whole lot, sometimes we do, so.
Okay,
So we'll jump to the jail budget.
so that's under, you got detention center, right?
Okay. Yep,
Or is it?
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
should be
sorry.
a detention center there.
I got it. What's it?
It's 212, activity 212.
Okay, all right. Got it.
Line 411 there, we
Oh,
budgeted
it's under
6% COLA. We included the step increases, overtime, part-timers, transport, shift pay, call pay, holidays, snow days. Budgeted all that. We also did budget for 2 new full-time correctional officers. It's getting very difficult to find part-timers and full-timers as well, but plus with all the annual leave and vacation and all the time that we're accruing, and the month of May and June, there was over 700 hours that we had to cover for time off in 2 months.
Wow.
So we start trying to cover that month after month after month. That gets to be very difficult. So like I say, our goal is to add 2 more to help out with that. And also for the safety side of it, we have 16 full-time employees right now, including Matt in the jail there that run the detention center. There's often times where if someone's gone, we're down to 2 employees in the jail, and the safety side of it, with time that we step it up and get to 3 full-time employees in the jail just for the safety of the staff. Like I say, our inmates are a lot more violent and more difficult to deal with at times than what they used to be 5-10 years ago. So that's what that's for. We can discuss that more later when the time comes. But line 415, health insurance, we budgeted a 10% increase. Line 421, jail insurance, increase of $9,000. Looks like we were low for 23, and now we're just trying to catch up, make sure we need to be. Line 422, jail professional services, increase of $58,000. Was an increase of medical providers. It goes up every year with inflation.
Is that
Expenses.
and also the kitchen as well, or the food contract as well? Is
No,
that-
that's just
Remember, we switched medical
right,
providers.
I remember that. I
And this
remember that. That's just that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah, the food is further down. Okay.
Yep,
I see.
inmates staying a lot longer.
Right.
More surgeries. This anytime an inmate has to go to the ER, any of that all comes out of this jail professional services. And like I say, it seems like the inmates have been staying in our custody a lot longer, and we've had to do more surgeries than typical. So, line.
So that's one thing, going back, I don't want to delay, but so the average length of stay is going up, even though we've noticed a drop in our population
We
since
just had one guy
COVID.
get out that been there over 3 years, 3 years and 4 months.
Sorry to digress, but we can
Yeah.
talk about that
Yeah.
later. That's another thing to talk about. Okay, thanks.
So, it's like line 422 there, pharmacy, a decrease of $15,000. We did recently switch pharmacies with the new medical company, and we're seeing a lot cheaper prices on our medications that we're getting for the inmates. So decrease of 15,000. 426.1, increase of $1,500. That's uniforms there for the new employees, and make sure that our part-time equipment is staying up to snuff. We're getting that for them. Line 427, county travel and conference, same as we were kind of talking about there. If there's a jailer or something like there, transporting, it'll come out of there. That's an increase of $5,000. We want to make sure that we bring in more training for the correctional officer staff again. That's kind of our goal here with all the best practices and everything that's been changing, is our goal to bring in some good training for them. So it gets to be difficult to try to send somebody when we're limited staff. So if we can bring it to them, that's even better. Line 428, utilities, increase of $6,000. Cost of utilities just went up. They're oftentimes over $6,000 a month right now. So we're just trying to make sure that we stay in line there. 429.1, jail electronic monitoring, decrease of $6,000. 433, jail improvements, decrease of $10,000. Our goal here with this one is we're going to reconfigure and remodel the tank, try to divide it into 2 rooms so we have more space for people that are coming and going. We have to tuck point the building. The tuck pointing on the jail side is failing. The water's running right into the building. So that's budgeted in there, and also to upgrade the lights in the whole building. That's part of this one as well.
So that's totally separate, just from the HVAC project.
That's separate from
Yeah.
the HVAC.
That's very
Generally, that is correct.
Yeah.
With the HVAC project, they're gonna redo the roof, which is much needed because it's leaking in the sheriff's office all over. So 434, jail machinery and equipment. We're gonna decrease that one, $33,000. Like I say, the server project that we talked about, a couple computers, printer, body cameras, maintenance on that, managed services, and the stun cuff is on there too. Don't need that. So.
Okay. Any questions for the sheriff? Maybe it's and for Matt, or so that's, what's the other?
Is in there.
Okay.
You've got rest
Oh, I got that
in
one.
there.
Yeah, we already, I showed that one already.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, that's that one.
And then we have the 24/7 budget. That's the last budget then we have under control here is the 411, the wages budgeted at 6% on that. Of course, we included steps, overtime, all the same things. And line 415, we budgeted a 10% increase. Those are the only two changes that we did on the 24/7 budget, so.
How much do and we get some of that? We get some of that back. I mean, don't we?
Yeah, we keep some of that, the 24/7 funds. It's a vendor pay program. That's why it's a separate
Right.
budget, so.
Yeah. Does it- okay. Any questions on any of these? Yeah, so yeah. You guys, you have one of the more impressive budgets, I must say, so.
They are difficult at times, so.
All right, thank you, John.
All right, thank you.
All right, so now we're. Brings us down to. Number 11. So that's a letter of resignation from Karen Jensen, who works in the community health
Corey Chair.
office.
Yep,
Corey, did you want to come up for that one, or are you for another? Okay.
yep. She could come up and explain.
Catch you off guard.
I was only half.
Woke her up.
So the budgets don't keep.
Morning. Corey.
Yeah, no, they don't keep you interested. Good morning. So I just received a letter from Karen, our clerical that we hired just a little under a year ago, that she is going to retire. She gave a 2-week notice, so her last day is scheduled for the 2nd of August, which is a week from today.
Okay.
So
Is she, I'm guessing you're gonna need a new person.
yeah, so I'll talk about that a little bit later in executive session on kind of
Okay,
what the plan
alright,
is going
sure,
forward
alright,
for that.
okay.
So, yep.
Thank you,
Awesome,
Karen,
yes.
Thank you.
for her time in the
Yeah.
office.
Yeah, she's excited. She has a grandson who lives down by Brookings, so she's excited to be able to go spend more time there. So
Great.
yeah, it'll be
Good
good
for
for her. Yeah,
Good.
yep.
Thank you.
All right, so. And next is number 12, so. Discussion possible action to enact a burn ban. Briefly, I forgot to mention it with Andrew while I was here, but I briefly talked to him before the meeting. I don't think we need one unless anybody. Okay. Move on to
No abatements today.
no abatements.
We do have claims, salary claims for July. In the total amount of $693,749.67. So. Need them.
Move to
Those-
approve.
Motion by Van Duzen. Is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Second by Schwer. You give me that amount again.
Yep, $693,749.67.
Okay, that's paying bills basically for.
All salary claims,
That's all, I'm sorry, that's all our claims.
salary claims for
Okay,
July.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, if you say aye.
Aye.
We'll say no. That motion carries.
No budget supplements,
No budget.
no
supplement,
personnel
no
changes.
personnel change. We did see a travel
Travel.
request on that.
Yep, and that is for an individual from the highway department for some training. We'll be driving their personal vehicle. It's a 1-day training.
So moved.
Motion by Johnson. Second by Waterman. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Let's say no. That motion carries. So that brings us down to public notices. Possible quorum of commissioners. This is for next, the one on that's shown on the agenda is for next week. That's next week, Wednesday. For a regional.
It's a
county
couple
commission.
weeks away for the.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
August
2 weeks.
Sioux
away. Yeah,
Valley,
you're
but
right.
yes,
2 weeks away. Okay.
if you could let me know. I do need to know though by next Wednesday who will be attending.
So you got, I'm attending.
Yep, I have you.
Okay, so that's done in Flanders.
Yeah,
So-
mine.
Pardon?
I'll be going.
You'll be going?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll add you.
All right, so just let the auditor know. And then I had written down on my calendar for tonight or this evening, the birthday party for the Boys and Girls Club. I think that's correct.
Yes.
You're gonna win a new pickup tonight.
Yeah, so I didn't.
Never think positive, right?
Is it like a cake eating contest? Is that? I'm just kidding. Yeah, I said that in the presence of the county nurse, so I shouldn't. No, it's not a healthy thing. Any other calendar items?
Possible, when is the 4-H days for the achievement day?
Oh, that's right. Okay, so that's this coming weekend, right? That's
That'll be next
correct.
week.
It's a week
So
away.
Thirty-
yeah.
next week.
31st to the first?
Yeah.
31st to the first. Okay. All right. Okay, any old business? New business? Okay, and then the public comments, that was just a misprint, so that's for
Yeah.
a couple weeks from now. And then,
Chair, I do have something maybe just to mention in the open. I will pass this around. Our treasurer has a list of individuals who have unclaimed funds, checks that they haven't claimed. So I'll pass this list around. If you know some of these individuals, tell them to come up. It's better if we can get this money to them rather than we have to turn it over to the state if we do not under unclaimed property. So take a look at those names. I can email that to you as well.
We did get it.
You did get
Yeah.
that.
I've
Okay.
gone through
All
it.
right. I didn't look who was on there, but yes, so
We've
just
looked at the names.
very
if
good.
people are curious, they, we can stop by and look.
I know a few, I've told them.
Okay,
so
good.
should be coming in.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, so I think we do have a need for executive session, number 22, so 3 items, so we got a personnel item, we got a possible litigation item and a contract issue, then we got a contract item. So,
So move.
so motion by Johnson to go into executive session, second by Waterman. There's not likely to be any action afterwards. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Let's say no. That motion carries. We are in executive session.